How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me back on the show. How are you doing?
We're good. I'm good. How are you,
I'm
Laura?
good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm happy it's Friday. It's been a very productive week, but I'm so happy to be here to talk to Ali.
Yeah, we're really excited to hear about the report. So we're really excited to find out, what's in the report and what you found. And I know that you've been to another event since the last time we spoke.
Yes, boy, have I. So I think when you and I chatted, I was in Vegas for the Bitcoin conference, then stuck around Vegas for the XRP Las Vegas conference, and then
Mhm.
went to Miami for the Consensus conference. So you're actually catching me on a rare day at home and perfect timing because, as you mentioned, the NCA's 2026 State of Crypto Holder Report just came out this week. And as you all know, but a reminder for your listeners, this is our annual flagship study of 10,000 US crypto holders. And a little bit of background for you. When the NCA, the National Cryptocurrency Association, first launched as a nonprofit in 2025, even we were confused about what's really going on with crypto in America.
Mhm.
I think that if you want to Google, how many people are using crypto in the US, you get such varying answers. And so we really dug deep into all of the data that was out there. And what we found was that a lot of the studies were, looking at 1,000 respondents, 2,000 respondents. And we look at smaller sample sizes sometimes as well. But what we really wanted to get to the truest picture of who's really using crypto in America. So we decided let's do the biggest ever study. And so last year we surveyed 55,000 American adults to get us to the 10,000 that said that they were using crypto. And that's how we were able to determine that 1 in 5, roughly, US adults was holding crypto. So we really wanted to set out to find, like, who are they? And what we found last year was that it's not that crypto bro stereotype that we all think about and hear about. And I think you and I have even talked about of, you picture a crypto holder in this day and age, and let's be honest, we might picture a young white man living in San Francisco, working in tech, living in New York, working in finance. And what we actually found, which was really exciting and encouraging, was that crypto holders come from all walks of life. About a third of crypto holders were women last year. More were over 55 years old than under 25. More worked in construction than in finance. They were spread all across the country, coast to coast, cities, suburbs, rural areas. They were from all different political party affiliations and religions and income levels and family types. And so it's really sort of busting the stereotype and the myth that crypto is just for one type of person, because we know this tool was created to be for everybody. And that's what we love about it. It's breaking down barriers and giving equal access and opportunity to everyone. And so now that we sort of had a better sense of who was using crypto, this year we wanted to really get under the hood and find out how and why. And so we ran our big survey again with the goal of getting to 10,000 crypto holders. And actually, this year, we were able to survey just under 40,000 people to get to the 10,000 holders, which is how we know that this year, crypto ownership has jumped from 1 in 5 US adults to 1 in 4 US adults, which equates to 12 million more people coming on chain for the first time in the US within the past year. So a really sharp rise, which we're, again, very excited to see.
So 1 in 4, yeah, that's interesting but I also hear from people I don't expect, like, a police officer or my mom or like, um, just random people. Oh yeah, I have, Ethereum. And I'm like, what? Yeah. But maybe the crypto bros are just the loudest.
Yes, that is our
Yeah.
hypothesis as well. I think that it's the crypto bros are the loudest, but also it's the skeptics, right? The cynics, we live in a clickbaity
Mm.
society where negative news drives more engagement than positive or neutral news, which is just a very unfortunate reality. And so I think so much of the
Mm.
conversation is dominated by the worst case scenarios, the bad actors or people who have been victim of scam or fraud, which is absolutely heartbreaking. And we don't want to pretend that that's not happening. But what we find is it's actually happening to much fewer crypto holders than you may believe if you read the news every day. So, our
Mm,
survey this year found that 77% of crypto holders said the technology's made a really positive impact on their lives, and just 3% report negative experiences with the tool, which, again, we don't want to discount their experiences. Real people have been burned, but unfortunately, there are scammers that lurk in every corner of the world, especially when money is involved. And so our role is to help educate people on how to use this tool safely and responsibly so that they don't fall for any sort of scams. And I think the number one piece of advice that we always give people is don't take financial advice from anyone you don't know, certainly no one you haven't met in person. So I think
mhm.
that's kind of a golden rule when transacting with anything online, whether it's your Venmo account, even online dating or LinkedIn. We see a lot of those scams cropping up that have nothing to do with crypto, but it's you get a text message about a job interview or, hey, sorry I missed you at lunch yesterday from a random number. And somehow it turns into a money scam. So just
Hmm.
verify your sources, everybody.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so interesting. So the 77%, Ali, is certainly a high number. I'm surprised, which is amazing, obviously. So of the 12 million Americans that you mentioned came on chain in the past year, what do you think is actually driving people on chain? Is it culture? Is it accessibility? Is it policy? Do you have any findings on that?
Yeah, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head largely and then some. So it is a combination of factors. What we found was that people are turning to crypto this year for a really wide variety of reasons beyond just investing. So more than half of people who came on chain this year said that it's because they're curious about the technology. A
Mm,
little more than a third said that that's because they were influenced by family and friends. They were seeing their family and friends talk about it. Maybe their loved ones sent them a little bit of crypto to get them comfortable with the platform, but they're also seeing really positive benefits, again, beyond financial gains. So more than half of crypto holders did say that financial gains is a really positive, like making a really positive outcome and impact on them. But they're also benefiting from greater privacy. About a third of folks said that, and roughly a third also said greater control over their finances. And when we look at crypto compared to other traditional tools and systems, we believe that DeFi and TradFi can and should coexist. And I think we're seeing a lot of integration between digital assets and traditional banks, but even also traditional institutions, like, for example, retailers. So I think you may recall, actually, a few months ago, we did a report with PayPal where we found that 50% of large enterprises in the US were already accepting crypto at checkout, followed by about a third of small and mid sized businesses. So I think it's a combination of friends and family are coming on board and sharing positive experiences. It is we're starting to see crypto pop up in familiar places. Again, when legacy tech brands and fintech companies like PayPal, Visa, Mastercard are getting on chain, it starts to signal to people that this isn't just a niche; a novelty. It's much more normalized and just feels a little bit more accessible. And then you hit on regulation, which I think is another really important point. So when we had done this survey last year, there was really no crypto regulation in the US. And it was a lot of sort of regulation by enforcement where there was crackdown on crypto companies without there being clear rules as to how and why. Since then, of course, the Genius Act passed, which is the first major piece of crypto legislation in the US to regulate stablecoins. And actually, this week, as we're having this conversation, just yesterday, the Clarity Act, the market structure bill, made its way through Senate and is moving forward. And so positive momentum at the policy level is giving everyday Americans more confidence about where, when, and how they can safely and responsibly use this tool. But the last piece I'll say is that trust in crypto when it comes to crypto holders is also on the rise, being driven by 24/7 accessibility, privacy, and financial control are the three biggest reasons why crypto holders trust crypto, which isn't to say they don't trust other systems, but they do trust crypto a little bit more than their traditional banks.
it's interesting. They trust it more than their banks.
That is
Hmm.
interesting. Hmm.
Yeah. That is really so I wonder why we didn't know this before, or are people just not telling other people, do you think? Or, like, that's another question I have because there are people I know that have it and they're like, "Oh, yeah, I have it," but they don't tell anyone. They don't tell their families or yeah.
Yeah, I think Oh, go for it.
I'm entertained because it's true. It's true. Some people have it and they don't talk about it. It's like taboo.
I think it's
Mhm.
a combination of things. I think on the one hand, there is, and we encourage this as well. Like if you win a bunch of money in the lottery or you get a new job where you're making a lot more money, you probably shouldn't be screaming it from the rooftops, right? Like you don't want to put a target on your back and have people think that you have too much disposable income and then maybe they want to come and get a piece of the pie. So I think there's always been some taboo around talking about money. So I think that's one school of thought. But the other school of thought is sort of like what we were just discussing. I do think for some people, there's a little bit of like, what's the word? It's not embarrassment, but because of the crypto bro narrative and because of, the New York Times and all of these outlets saying every other day that crypto is just scammers and fraudsters, I do think that it makes people a little bit more reluctant to share their positive experiences. I think what's great about a survey is nobody knows, who you are, right? So it's not your name and your face and your bank account attached to your results, your responses, which we're asking people about their adoption, we're asking people about their sentiment, we're asking people about their belief systems. And so they can be much more candid when things are more anonymous. And that actually goes back to, I think, one of the core principles of cryptocurrency, which is it is anonymous, right? It runs on blockchain, and blockchain gives you that control, that ownership, but that privacy. And I think that that narrative has been co-opted by kind of the haters to think, oh, why do you need to do anything anonymously? If you're abiding by the law and you're a good actor, why don't you want your name and face out there? And to that, I would share many stories of real crypto holders I've met over the years who were needing their anonymity and privacy protected for safety reasons, from celebrity athletes to a single mom in Texas who used crypto to escape a financially restrictive home life where she was not able to access her bank account. So I think that the anonymity and privacy piece, yes, it can be abused like any other financial tools out there by bad actors, but it can also be a lifeline for good actors who have no other choice.
So how are or are they? Are women and men using it differently? I like that's the question I have.
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's actually roughly the same. One of the big
Mhm.
differences, well, a couple of the big differences we found this year is that when you look at we compared the data not just year over year, but we also looked at people who have come on chain within the last year or two compared to very early adopters. People came on who came on chain like 2009, if you will. And if you look at newer adopters versus older adopters, newer adopters are 42% more likely to be female. So that's pretty dramatic. If you look at just year over year, we've still seen a 10% increase in female crypto ownership. So women are using it more often. Again, maybe they're not screaming it from the rooftops the way the bros are, but the utility of it and how it's being used in everyday practice is roughly the same across genders. And what we're finding is that, last year we saw something like 20% or so were actually of holders were doing more than just holding crypto. A few of them were shopping with it. A few of them were, tracking and tracing and trading NFTs. A few of them were using it for tokenized artwork and those sorts of things. Those speculative use cases and sort of more like fun, like meme coins, NFTs, those are still around, but they're not as ubiquitous as they were in the past. I think we're starting to see a rise in much more like practical use cases. So, for example, this year, 41% of crypto holders said that they're using it to send crypto to friends and family. That's almost half. 40% are using it to shop for goods and services, with 20% doing so weekly. So when you look at 10,000 crypto holders, which is kind of a representative sample of the 67 million crypto holders out there, 1 in 5 are shopping with it every week. So it's just becoming much more normalized. They're seeing it at their local grocery stores. They're seeing it online when they go to check out with Walmart or wherever they may be shopping. They're buying their movie tickets, their concert tickets, their steak and shake, their Starbucks with it. And it's just another choice, another option. The same way that when I go to the grocery store, go to shop for anything, I can pay with my PayPal, my Venmo, my credit card, my debit card, cash or check, sure. I'm sure people are still doing that, or my crypto, which is really exciting. And I think another big shift that we saw this year in terms of attitudes and behaviors is that 41% of crypto holders think of crypto as simultaneously an investment, a payment method, and a technology platform. So it's not being seen as just one thing anymore. And I think we've always believed that. And it's exciting to see that other people are starting to recognize that as well.
Yeah, that is really interesting, that paying for groceries.
Yeah, and that's so important because I feel like if consumer brands like the ones you mentioned are, just putting it out there and having it as an option, that's how people, like, even unconsciously, they're gonna see the Bitcoin logo or the stablecoin logo, and that's the way that people get to trust it because it just sits side by side with the other like traditional payment rails, right? So that's a huge thing. I think you hit the nail on the head as well there. Um, Ali, what's the most important misconception in this year's report, in your opinion, about crypto holders and who they actually are?
Ooh, that is a tough one. I would say I think that there is still a pervasive narrative that when it comes to demographics, that crypto is just for like the elite 1% and still a little bit seen as like a speculative asset. We're definitely, the tide is turning. We're moving away from that. But I think the income piece is really interesting because crypto was started with the promise and premise of, again, like we talked about, let's break down barriers, let's give equal access and opportunity to everybody. And then this hypey broy culture and like to the moon narrative spun up around it that made it feel like such an exclusionary space. And now I think people are really opening their eyes. They're doing their own research. They're learning about what this tool is and seeing how it's benefiting their peers, their friends, their colleagues, whatever it may be. And so, what's really interesting is that crypto holders on average have less than $5,000 of crypto held at any given moment. I think there is a lot of public misperception that people are going all in and risking their life savings on this asset. And really, the reality is it's spanning all income levels, and people are not. They're just seeing it as one way to diversify their portfolio. So I think that it's the narrative that crypto is just for bros, as we've talked about, is one that drives me personally crazy. I'm sure you ladies as well, but that it's also just for the rich is also one that I would like for people to realize is not the case. And I think that we're seeing that, especially for people who have been historically left out of traditional systems. We've actually been working with some folks who are from communities of color who shared stories with us about how they were turned down for traditional business loans when their white colleagues and peers were not, even though they were, roughly checking all of the same boxes other than the colors of their skin. And so I think that when this tool can offer a emergency piggy bank, a way, like we said, a financial lifeline to the people who really need it most, then I think that, our work is working and it's a job well done. And people are finding the real utility and purpose and meaning from this tool, which is exactly what it's here for.
Yeah, those are some great points, Ali, and also stable coins. I can't help but just it popping into my head because when we're talking about communities that are
Oh,
underrepresented, I feel like remittances are a big thing, and just moving value around in a way that's much more efficient, in the way that it's just cheaper and faster. For these communities is it's a like not everyone uses crypto for investment. They use it for preservation of the value of their currency in places that, like Argentina or Turkey, or these places that have very big problems with inflation. So that's also like a big thing, and I'm sure that a big part of the users are using stable coins, and that's not even like speculative, and like it maintains value. That's why it's pegged, right?
Exactly, and I'm glad you brought that up because I think what's really interesting, and we touched on this a little bit, but when everyday people start to see traditional banks integrate with cryptocurrency and stablecoins, a great example of that, where it really is starting to bridge the divide between digital assets and traditional assets. That also does increase their confidence in using the tool. And what we found from our survey this year is that 2/3 of crypto holders already think that crypto is integrating with traditional systems. So they have that level of visibility, awareness, and comfort, and even more actually view the crypto industry as being established and mature. I don't know. I want my hot take on that is actually I still think it is pretty early days, and I think we've seen this with every new technology over time, be it AI, the internet, smartphones, even back in history to like railroads and automobiles. When a new innovative tool comes along that is going to disrupt everything we've already known, there's all of that fear and consternation of I don't get it. I don't get how it works. It's going to take over the world. It's only for bad actors. I mean, we even saw this with we've gone back in the history books with electricity. When electricity first came out, there was this whole narrative that like if you want the lights on at night, you must be doing something bad. And so I think that we're not that far off here. And it's of course it's human nature to fear what we don't understand, right? We totally get that. But I think the more we can do our jobs at the NCA of helping people understand, then the better off everyone will be. And the people and communities that have the most to potentially gain from this will be able to actually tap into its potential. And just going a little bit further down the rabbit hole, actually, three-quarters of crypto holders say that the tool is proven and reliable. And 85% of holders expect that more people are going to come on chain in the next 5 years. So they're quite bullish, if you will, on the outlook. 9 in 10 crypto holders plan to buy more crypto within the year. 72% plan to spend it, and about two-thirds plan to send it to friends and family. So I think we're going to continue to see current crypto holders using it more often in more ways, and at the same time, non-holders coming on chain for the first time. So I hope that when we have this conversation next year, I'll be able to tell you 1 in 3 US adults are holding crypto.
Hmm. That's really interesting. And did it get into the types of things like Bitcoin versus Ethereum or Doge or is there anything like that? Or like, are they holding the Bitcoin and spending, others?
Yes, we have some data on that,
Hmm.
not as much as I wish that we had. So we looked at what folks are holding as well as just awareness of certain tokens. So we have that breakdown. I actually don't have it handy, so I'm gonna have to send it to you after this if that works. But I do know that stable coins are definitely on the rise in terms of adoption and awareness, as well as some of the kind of top tokens that we've seen before: Bitcoin, XRP, Solana, even Dogecoin,
Hmm.
which is a really interesting one that's come up in our survey year over year. Dogecoin is a meme coin, and the NCA's position is typically like, don't think of meme coins as something that have real world utility and value. Treat it like a Pokemon card. It's fun if you want a piece of pop culture and to be in on the moment, but don't think that it's going to make you any money. Dogecoin is a notable example where people are making money with their investments in Dogecoin, and I have no idea how or why it got as popular as it did, but we still believe that there is a different role to play for pretty much every token. And so, by and large, people are still seeing Bitcoin as sort of that digital gold, that long term store of value. You know, the way we think about it is you probably wouldn't buy a burger with a bar of gold, but some people are spending their Bitcoin. Then we look at something like an XRP, which people are really valuing for cross border payments, remittances, institutional investing. And then you look at ones like Ethereum that are sort of more built for smart contracts and developers and building on chain. So I think the consumer awareness of the specific role of each token is not as high as we would like to see. And I think sometimes people still think that there is only one type of crypto, and especially with stable coins, there's actually, as you probably know, a little bit of a debate of is it even crypto?
Hmm.
It is a digital asset, but is it a cryptocurrency? And so I think we look at it very much more broadly, and our role is to help people understand this is what this token is,
Hmm.
this is what you can do with it, this is what you can't do with it, this is why people like it, and this is why people don't like it, so that they can make the most informed decisions for themselves. So we actually have a token explorer coming on our website that will go through the basics of the kind of most popular tokens so that people can start to get familiar with each. Because when you're investing in any asset, be it crypto or literally anything else, you shouldn't put your money in something that you don't know what it is.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah.
And Ellie, you mentioned the NCA, publishes this report, yearly. Um, What do you think? What is meaningfully different this time, you think, about this report, apart from the fact that, the growth in numbers, if anything?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that surprised us in a positive way this year was just the actual practical utility of crypto. So last year, again, we saw most people were just holding crypto as an investment and hope to make profits. And now we're seeing people actually using crypto in their day to day lives. So I think that, again, it's moving from sort of what we say is like niche to normal. And you both touched on conversations with your friends and family who are coming on chain for the first time. I know I'm having the same experience with my loved ones. And, I go to my local grocery store and maybe there's not a big sign that says pay with crypto here. But from my research, I know that I can. And so I do. And it's interesting having conversations with the cashiers at these places. I was at a coffee shop recently where I saw they had the Blackbird little box. Have you seen that yet? So that lets you pay with crypto, especially at like restaurant locations. And just for fun, I like to ask the people working at, oh, what is, working? What is this to see how much they know about it? And I get mixed results. So at this coffee shop, the gal who was working there immediately knew everything about it and then shared with me about local crypto communities that she's a part of where in our part of town and other merchants and businesses that are accepting crypto at checkout and all of the positive benefits that they've seen. Because from a merchant standpoint, not only does it help you get your funds quicker, but you keep more of what you earn because there's less middlemen taking a cut of your profits along the way. So for especially small businesses, that can be incredibly impactful. But then I go to other places where the cashiers don't know what it is. And if I ask if I can pay in crypto, even though I know I can, sometimes I get a confused look. So something that we're starting to think about right now is more about like digging deeper into the traditional institution adoption and looking not just at like how C-suite decision makers are thinking about these tools and technologies, but actually how the ultimate like frontline workers are thinking about it. And are there any disconnects and opportunities for the NCA to continue our education mission? We've been focused on helping everyday American individuals understand and use crypto with confidence, but I think there's a big opportunity for us to help businesses as well. So more to come.
Yeah. Yeah, as I try to get money out of Square. Yeah. And then we had issues with some other things too, just like, paying people in the other countries, and I'm like, "How about crypto?" I'm like, "Let's do crypto." So much easier. Yeah.
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 We have, stop me if I've
So
already shared this
interesting.
story with you, but we're working with a content creator in California who, during COVID, his business was booming. Everybody was trapped inside all the time watching YouTube videos. So he was making about 100 YouTube videos a month and
Hmm.
started outsourcing editing to a global network of freelancers around the world. And he said 9 times out of 10, when he asked them how they wanted to be paid, they said crypto.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Certainly, like my own experience hiring freelancers, it's crypto.
Mhm. Yeah, we had the worst time.
A hundred
Yeah.
percent
But
crypto. 100%
I
crypto.
had, yeah, like 3 wires rejected in the past week. And I was like,
Uh,
"Why?"
It's so inconvenient. It's
Yeah.
it's so
Yeah.
inconvenient. It's
It
ridiculous.
it just, crypto just makes sense as a solution to so many problems, and it does break my heart in the US that the technology has become so politicized and in some cases, let's be honest, like demonized.
Mhm.
This is a tool.
Yeah.
This is a technology, this is an instrument, this is a way that you can exchange and store value and have full ownership and control over your assets. To me, it's a no-brainer that people of all mindsets, political affiliations, perspectives would see the value in this. But I think unfortunately the nature of, our two-party system in the US makes it tricky. And if folks feel like if one side is for something, the other side has to be against it, which is, I guess, going back to your question about what's so surprising, the fact that about a third of crypto holders identify as registered Republicans, a third identify as Democrats, and a third identify as
Mhm.
independent. That was also surprising to me because I think again, just while the political theater is playing out, there is a narrative that one side of the aisle is more pro tech, one side is more anti tech. And as we can't put the genie back in the bottle. This tool is here and people are using it. So let's figure out how to safely, smartly, responsibly regulate it so that everybody can benefit.
Mhm. Oh, this is amazing. Yeah. So we'll definitely link to it so people can download and, see the report and all the information. That's very cool. I love all this info.
Yeah, it's
Thank you.
fascinating.
Yeah.
It just for me just reinforces what I think is happening, right? So it's great to be able to to say, okay, it's not just my bubble
Yeah.
and the algorithm showing me
Now
things.
we can give the report to
It's
people and say, "See?"
yeah, 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 yeah. Should upload it to Claude and
Yeah.
have it be yeah. Have it filter all my stuff that I put into
Yeah.
it.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for coming on and going through it. This is really exciting.
Awesome. Thank you both. Always love chatting with you. And I just appreciate, connecting with like minded folks who get what we're up against and get what we're doing. And the last thing I will share is also on our website, in addition to all of our research, we do have a lot of great learning resources. I think I might have spoken a little bit about them with you both before, but for your listeners, we have what we call Crypto Explained, which is 101 courses, a hands on simulator to let people practice without connecting to real money, and then the weekly podcast that I host called Crypto Explained. So would love to get you gals on our podcast as well. But really, our goal is to create a safe space with no hype, no jargon, so that we can make this make sense to as many people as possible. So thank you both for helping us share in that mission.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you so much. This is yeah, I can't wait to share. I can't wait to share this
Yeah,
info.
this is
Mhm.
necessary, and it's great that you guys are putting reports out there and you're putting efforts and resources into actually compiling this
Mhm.
and putting it out there. I think that helps a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you. Awesome. Well, we can't wait to see the segment when it airs, and we'll follow up with more detail. I think one thing I know we will get to you is deeper details on the tokens and use and awareness of those.
Much.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.